All right, and we are live. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this episode, our seventh episode of KC Reacts. I am Kevin Hammer,
I'm Chris Barrett.
and we are excited for this one because we have a collection of nuts to discuss with you this evening. Uh, in our last stream, we discussed an old G when it came to the modern trans movement, radical trans activists, and that was Riley Dennis. But Riley Dennis hasn't been, really seen or heard from in a number of years. So in this stream, we decided to focus on some of our more well-known trans nuts, as you see here. I hope you enjoy the little walnut images. Stacy, she goes, they all nuts. Yes, you're right.
I think Stacy's right.
Absolutely. And we have some wild clips for you this evening. Three of these individuals you're probably going to recognize right off the bat. The last gentleman you may not know as well. I didn't until a couple weeks ago, but he himself is also a whole new brand of crazy. So, without further delay, we're going to start. Are you ready to start these clips, Chris?
I think so. I'm kind of looking forward to this. This is a little bit more of maybe a lighthearted episode, so that's always kind of fun. So
Yeah.
yeah, let's get into the insanity and have fun with it.
Absolutely. So our first individual is we only have two clips, is Jeffery Marsh. Now Jeffery Marsh is one of those individuals that, that makes Pennywise sound like I want to give him a hug. Pennywise, that is. I'd choose Pennywise if I had to make a decision here. Because I mean, you all float down there. But no, anyways,
Sad
here
but
is
true. Sad but
Jeffrey
true.
Marsh, and you've probably seen this clip before, speaking to the kids. All right? Get ready for the creepiness.
Talk to the kids. Parents watch the video and then hand the phone over to the young kids. Hi there. I get asked a lot, are you a boy or a girl? And I love that question. And so I wanted to just tell you, sometimes human beings are more than boy or girl. Sometimes we're something else. Sometimes we're both. Sometimes we kind of float in between, and sometimes we're a boy, sometimes we're a girl. Because human beings are creatures and we're wild and exciting.
All right. Well, I would describe you as a creature, although I feel like that'd be an insult to certain creatures, Jeffrey. And I want to meet the person that has to ask this individual if he's a man or if he's a boy or a girl, a man or a woman. I really want to meet the individual, anyone who has asked this man that question.
I seriously doubt that anyone has ever actually asked him that question. I mean, even a child is not going to ask that question. I mean, kids aren't stupid, and so I really think that he's making up something here. It's not a question he's actually been asked. He puts on his eyeshadow and his stupid lipstick and everything and looks like, a freaking idiot. But and mind you, by the way, I'm not discouraging gender nonconformity. But let's face it, the only reason this guy looks the way he does is because he's trying to make some sort of weird point.
Yeah.
He's kind of like the way I like to put it is he's trans without being trans. He's a pussy trans, you know?
Well, I feel like in his mind he had this idea of 80s glam rock or Hedwig and the Angry Inch and ended up insulting all of them by creating this disaster right here. But I mean, let's get aside from the look, get to the words. The voice, everything is just creepy. And clearly he is very much focused on targeting children. I mean, here you have him wanting
Well,
the parents to give their phones to their kids and,
yeah,
let him have a conversation with them.
And that is the biggest problem with this. I mean, I always like to go after his look because it's just kind of like
Yeah.
absurd to me. It's like just absurd. So that's the very first thing that I notice. But then, of course, you look at it again, and it's like his weird conversation with children, because he's always fascinated with children. That is like the creepiest shit that I have ever seen. I mean, quite honestly, he may be one of the creepiest people on the internet. And
So
it's disgusting and embarrassing as a gay man because it's obvious he's gay.
yeah.
Let's face that. He's an effeminate gay man. Um, but it's so creepy that he wants to talk to children the way that he does. I mean, like, think about you, Kevin. I mean, do you have any interest in really talking to children if they're not yours? I sure as hell don't.
No. No.
You know?
Like no, it's just like this is like just the embodiment, embodiment of the creepiness here. Jeffrey's really up there at the tops when it comes to that, at the top of the creepy charts. But while Jeffrey spends a great deal of his time targeting children, I've managed to find this clip from a number of years ago where it's a mockery in my mind of womanhood, but it is rare that I have an instinctual reaction to videos. But let's see if you can guess why. I'm gonna play this clip of Jeffery Marsh, and let's see if you can guess why I have that reaction to this.
Super they fashion slay. Staying small isn't working for you anymore.
All right, I wish I could say this, Jeffrey Child. Nothing is working for you at this moment. Small or big, nothing is working for you. But this clip, like, really just hits that reaction for me. Like, but anyways, I'm gonna throw it to you, Chris. I mean, this is not just like this is just a mockery of womanhood. I mean, you're not quite at Dylan Mulvaney levels, but you're getting there.
Well, he is friends with Dylan Mulvaney,
I know.
so there is that. I as soon as I saw him, um, let me back up a second. Okay, first of all, he's leaning hard into they them thing. That's his thing. He doesn't think he's a man. He doesn't think he's a woman. He's a they them. And which is stupid because it's clear that he's a man. And he's got a freaking 5 o'clock shadow and everything. And it's like just shut up, you idiot. But he's sitting here doing this shit, and remember what you just saw there, guys. He shows to kids all the time because
Mhm.
kids are his target audience, guys.
He
That
considers
is his target
all his
audience.
content kid friendly.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. That is his target audience. So this pervert is sitting there doing that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other thing is, I noticed how he like did the little thing with that shoulder strap. Okay, that totally brought me back to the thing, and I think that I said this early on another episode about the freak that my brother and sister-in-law knows that has decided that he's trans, and he's got
Mm-hmm.
his own children and everything. He's totally destroyed his family over this. He's gotten a divorce from his wife because I mean, what wife would want to be with a man that is doing this shit? But anyway, he it just totally reminded me of that freak. He showed
Mm-hmm.
me, for those of you who don't remember, when we had stepped aside and he was just talking to me privately. The kids were away and all that type of stuff. And he made sure to pull down his shirt and show me his
I
bra
remember you
strap that he had
talking
on.
about that.
Right. And
Absolutely.
as soon as I saw that, it reminded me of that. I mean, this is the type of person that we're dealing with here. We're dealing
Oh
with
yeah.
freaking freaks and perverts. I mean, that's what they are.
So before we move on to other freaks and perverts, because trust me, we have a number of them left, I do want to refer to the comments because the comments have me giggling a little bit, Chris. We have, I think it's pronounced Catamount. Thank you for commenting. I don't recall you commenting on the stream before. Thank you. Saying that Jeffrey, he's a cross between Hedwig and the Blue Meanie from Yellow Submarine. Unfortunately, well, a mutated cross, I suppose, exposed to nuclear waste and energy. Then Stacy Sunshine, which welcome back, Stacy. Response to this clip was, is this a Viagra ad? It isn't working.
Okay, I'm dying on that one. That is great.
Oh, trust me, none of these clips are going to be working this evening. All right, Stacy, none of them. They might work if you're looking to, purge. If you're looking to purge, they might help. They might work there. But speaking of purging and also dining, we're now going to move on to Lilly Contino, also known as, Lilly Tino, on Instagram and TikTok. Now, those of you who know Lilly probably knows him as this man who very much still looks like a man, even though he recently had facial surgery, all that stuff. He goes to restaurants, and when the wait staff refers to him as sir or mister, he harasses them. And when management does it as well. Oh, Chris, I lost you, by the way. Oh, you're back.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so
yeah.
sorry. I just switched because one of our commenters is actually someone that I know. And I didn't realize it.
That's right.
And so I'm switching over. Sorry. My iPad evidently can't do two things at once.
Lilly is most well known for doing that, harassing the wait staff at restaurants. Now, I don't have a specific clip of Lilly engaging with anyone from a restaurant. I decided to focus on a clip where Lilly talks about 3 situations that apparently, 3 instances where he was misgendered. And I chose this clip just because they are insane, what he described. So first with Lilly, we're going to focus on his constant claims that the restaurants hate him and how he plays the victim. So here we go with Lilly.
Misgendered 3 times in the past 24 hours at restaurants. Last night I was at Benihana with my girlfriend and the server said, "What about you, sir? What would you like to eat?" My girlfriend, God bless her heart, steps in, says, "Actually, that's ma'am." And she looks at my girlfriend and didn't really understand what had happened and said, "No, I'm talking to him," pointing at me. Our jaws were on the floor and we decided to leave because it was just a bad vibe after that. And just a few minutes ago, I was at another restaurant for lunch and they showed me my seat and said, "Here you go, sir." And I said, "I am not a sir." And then I left because I wasn't comfortable anymore. And I went to a new restaurant and I asked, "Before I sit down, where's the bathroom, please?" And they said, "Oh, it's right this way, sir." And I just left because I wasn't comfortable anymore. If you're a server in the food industry, you don't need to use words like sir or ma'am. There are ways to be respectful without using those words. And if you get it wrong for someone like me, I will probably leave the restaurant. And it puts like a bad vibe on my day when it happens, especially when it happens 3 times in a row.
Well, first of all, Lilly, my man, you have dedicated pretty much 90% of your time, social media time, to making people uncomfortable, specifically targeting wait staff and, restaurant management. So I guess, what goes around comes around. And while your first story, where the waiter apparently said, "No, I'm talking to him," while I would absolutely support that waiter if they did say that. I forget if he said the waiter was male or female. Well, I would support that waiter. I don't know. That one seems a bit fake, because whenever I've seen actual footage of this man
this man
interacting with
interacting with
restaurant
restaurant
employees.
employees.
The
The
employees are most
employees are
often
most
very
often very
respectful.
respectful.
Chris, I think I'm
Chris,
getting
I think I'm getting
feedback on
feedback
your
on
end.
your
I'm hearing
end.
my
I'm
own
hearing my own
voice.
voice.
Chris, can
Chris,
you
can
hear
you
me?
hear me?
Hello,
Hello,
Chris.
Chris.
All right.
All right.
One
One
second.
second.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Anyone in the
Anyone in the
audience, if
audience,
you
if you
can't
can't
hear me
hear
or
me or
can't hear
can't hear
Chris,
Chris,
please let
please
us
let us
know.
know.
I'm just texting Chris right now. Chris, I can't hear you. Sorry, Chris. Okay, so Stacy, you say I'm not echoing now, but I was. Unfortunately, I can't hear Chris. Let me see. Oh, I think I might have found out what the issue is. All right. Chris, you have to unmute yourself. You're muted. You're muted. Thank you, everyone, for bearing in with our technical issues tonight, bearing with us. It's greatly appreciated. Unfortunately, I can't unmute Chris. Chris. Well, there's a whole, I sent you a text. All right, all right. So everyone, Chris is apparently muted right now. So I'm just gonna engage with the comments quick. All right, I think Chris is gonna come back in. So until he does, yeah, it's crazy, you guys. I mean, the stuff that this individual does is insane. You know, if anyone has worked in hospitality, you know how stressful that can be. You know how much yourself you put into it. It's very draining. I worked in hotels. I was I was a night auditor, so I was behind the desk at hotels, and I worked in hotels with connected restaurants. And it was a very stressful situation. You know, it's fast paced. You have a lot of stuff to go. And while it was stressful, when the job was well done, I enjoyed it. But when you have this kind of individual adding to that experience, adding to that work, it's stressful. Hey, Chris.
Hey, yeah. So I could not figure out how to unmute myself. So I was like, I'll just leave the studio, come back in, and sure enough, it did
Well,
work.
Chris, I think I did okay. I got into talking about working at a hotel. So,
Oh, hey, you were vamping. You were great.
absolutely. Well, I was just saying, you know, while I haven't worked restaurants, I have worked hotels. So I know what it's like to just be doing your job in a a fast paced environment, high stress environment where you're doing multiple things at once. And then you have a guest, or in this case, you know, a customer, a patron, that's just like harass you, just try to make trouble. Not, they just try to make trouble. So, Chris,
Sure.
what's your reaction to Lilly when it comes to his focus on
Yeah.
going after
So
restaurant employees?
the thing is yeah, Lily is famous for doing this. This is his thing. As someone who did work in the restaurant industry, I certainly did for quite some time in my teenage years and into my early 20s. And this was the type of asshole that we hated. They were the type of person that was coming in there to prove some sort of point. And you could tell them right away. Um, for whatever reason, they wanted to use you as the waiter, as their thing, as their mechanism to prove some sort of point. And so, I mean, I saw all sorts of different things when I was waiter, as far as people that would do this type of crap. Lily just happens to be one of the ones that is a trans individual, but I bet you anything before he decided that he was a woman, That he was probably running around doing this type of bullshit to waiters and waitresses
Oh,
beforehand.
yeah. I
You
mean, he
know,
was, yeah, he was one of those people that was probably sending dishes back, complaining about every little thing well before he added this to it. And speaking though of Lily back when well, still looks like a man, but looked more like the man. Um he actually, thing is, wasn't the most hideous man. And that's also one of the sad. I feel like if you ever look up, it's kind of like, do you remember those leftist feminist memes showing them before they became feminists and showing them after? And it goes from like this pretty girl with like, just a standard beautiful girl next door type look, and then suddenly she has colorful hair cut short and a septum piercing and just looks hideous. The makeup looks like Mimi Bobek. And that's kind of what you get here with a lot of these transitions. And I know, Chris, speaking, Lily having a very, obviously using a very traditionally female name, a lot of people, and I want to have a quick discussion about this. A lot of people say that we should also use the name they were given at birth. And here's the thing, while I say man because Lily is a man, unlike your sex, your name is actually something you are assigned. So you can legally change your name. Celebrities have been doing it since we had celebrities, right? When I got married, I changed my last name. So I will, especially if it's a legal change in name, because names you can change. We do nicknames, right? We don't do nick sexes, right? If you're a man, you're a man. If you're a woman, you're a woman. So I will say the name just because that is actually something that was assigned to you. You weren't born with your name.
yeah, that's kind of an interesting point, Kevin. I've just got to say, I like that he talks like this,
I
and
know,
his name
right?
is Lily. Because everyone that sounds like this is Lily. Um, sure, whatever, fucker. But anyway, the I mean, that's true. Honestly, I don't know what this dude's actual name is. I mean, if I did know his name, kind of like the pissed off lawyer. If
Yeah.
anyone knows about that crazy woman on X, the pissed off lawyer. I always call her Erica, even though she says that she's a man and she goes by some other name or whatever. But I found out what her real name is, so I will call her Erica. If I knew Lily's real name, I would probably use that too. And you're right, Kevin, you can change your name. I'm not disagreeing with that, and that's totally fine. I have no problem with somebody doing that because there's all sorts of different reasons you may change your name.
Yeah.
But but the simple fact is this person is changing their name under uh pretty an unscrupulous sort of situation.
Yeah. And
It's like,
with ill intent, obviously with ill intent. It's just,
yes.
I guess, when it comes to names is also, like I said, one of the things where it is the one thing that really is assigned to you when you're born is your name. Your sex/gender is an observation, not an assignment.
Right.
Is that I've met grown men who, when they were born, their parents named them Ashley, Stacy, Brooke, Angel. I've met men with all these names. So
Oh,
I
sure.
guess for me, I mean, for crying out loud, there's a country song, A Boy Named Sue, right? I mean, I don't know. When it comes to the name, I will, especially if I don't know the prior legal name, I will use the name. But no, I am not going to use their pronoun. That I'm going to stay, rooted in reality.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But when it comes to Lily here, Lily's had a bit of an evolution when it comes to the individuals that he's decided to target. And as we have seen for a while now, Lily preferred to target restaurant staff and management. But Lily has actually recently moved on to children. And we have a couple of clips demonstrating Lily targeting children. Now, I want you, as you watch this clip, to look down at the music, the name of the music that's playing, to see what it reads. And after we will discuss that along with the graphics of this video. And yeah, I think it's pretty clear what direction Lilly is going in.
Friends, today we're going to talk about something super important, what it means to be transgender. It's a big word, but I promise that it's easy to understand. Ready to learn? The first thing I want you to do is close your eyes. Now think, do you feel like a boy, a girl, or a little bit of both? Do you have your answer? Great. Now I want you to imagine that everyone keeps telling you that you're something else, even though in your heart, you know who you are. Wouldn't that make you sad inside? People who feel like this are transgender. And if you're not transgender, it's super easy to be friends with someone who is. Let's take our imaginary friend Theo, for example. One day you notice that Theo starts wearing girl clothes instead of boy clothes. And then they tell you that they want to be called Luna instead of Theo. This is so exciting for our friend Luna because they finally get to be their true self. And if you accidentally call Luna by their old name, make sure to say a big sorry and that you'll do better next time. As you can see, transgender people are just like you and me. They're our friends.
All right, a few things. Lilly, when I close my eyes and hear your voice, I get nauseous. So there's that. And I don't know if you notice down at the bottom where it's showing what music is playing to the video, it says kids and toys. The line going by.
Right.
I have another clip that you'll notice it says kids and toys. So there's that. Clearly the graphic designs are meant to target children after all.
Well, look at that background.
Huh?
Look at that background.
Exactly. Look at the background. Look at the images of the little boy and then him as a little girl. And I guess also one of the final things with this is I caught something with this, and I wonder how many people have focused on this. In this, Lilly, he says, transgender people are like you and me. I thought Lilly was trans. So
That's what I thought.
if I were to say that some other group is like you and me, Chris, if I were to say straight people are like you and me, Chris, what am I saying? I'm saying about myself. What am I saying about myself? If I'm saying straight people are like you and me, I'm saying I'm not straight when I say that, right? So what's interesting here is when Lilly says that transgender people are like you and me, is Lilly admitting to that he just has a fetish, that it's not any kind of gender dysphoria? I don't know. But I'm going to throw that to you,
I don't know
Chris.
about you, Kevin, but I'm not sure how much I buy the idea of gender dysphoria anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah, maybe it's a real thing for a very, very, very few
Absolutely.
amount of
Yeah, I
people.
believe that too.
Right. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, I think most of this is a perversion, is what it really is. And I mean, this dude, I mean, he has this voice and he's with a woman. So this is a straight dude. I mean, really, that's what this is. He's a straight dude because he talked about his girlfriend in the last video. So, I mean, which generally speaking, if they're straight and they're this way, they're probably an AGP. And for those of you who don't know, that it's an autogynephile, and that is a person who gets off on that is a generally a straight person, straight man who gets off on the idea of thinking that they're a woman, or at least envisioning themselves as a woman. And that's totally what this guy is. That's what Jeffrey Marsh is. Jeffrey Marsh is maybe the gay version of an AGP, but AGPs can be anything. They're usually the straight ones. But
Yeah.
I do think that you can have an AGP who is also homosexual as well.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
anyway, so I mean, that's kind of what we're dealing with here, and that's also kind of why they're probably so freaking creepy,
Okay.
because you're dealing with a fetishist here. And let's face it, human fetishes usually are a little creepy, not something that you want to bring out into the public if you have one. You want to keep that sort. Usually, if you're a decent person, you want to try to keep that sort of thing private and just something that's between you and your
Hmm.
partner. But these people are trying to make it a public thing. And so I think
Hmm.
that that's what Lily is doing here.
Yeah.
But what is most concerning is that Lily is now making this directed towards children. See, that's
Hmm.
where I draw the line on all of this shit. It's like as soon as you go after the kids, we're enemies, 100%. And that's what this is. This is going after the kids. I mean, look at that outfit, the bibbed overalls and the
Yeah.
cutesy little colored background and all the type of
The
stuff. It's
hair
very
band, the band and the hair, like it. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's very clear that it's intended to be directed towards children,
Hmm.
and that music that was going on in the background, everything.
Yeah.
And so any adult that is trying to push their sexual fetish onto children is a sick pervert, and in my opinion, needs to be locked up in prison.
Hmm.
That's where Lily belongs.
So, Chris, the reason I do believe that there is that dysphoria, why it can exist in regards to your sex, is because I forget the exact name of the condition, but there are conditions where people, they have a mental illness where, for example, they feel they shouldn't have been born with their arm or their leg, right? And they are determined to get it removed. Dr. Phil once had an episode, and I want us to cover this in the future, where there was a woman who believed she should have been born blind, that she was supposed to be blind, so she blinded herself. Clearly a mental illness. I believe that there are that, but I don't believe it's the majority of people who identify as trans and non-binary today. Absolutely not. I do not think that's the majority of it. I think the majority is kind of what Stacy touched on here. And I'm going to add one thing to your description, Stacy. So she kind of described, the trans as autism plus, well, especially in this case, you would say autism plus perverted kinks, fetishes that come from trauma. I would also add social contagion, because I really do feel that, especially because we now have trans men outpacing quote unquote trans women. And as we know, social contagions tend to be a bit more aggressive and widespread with females than they do males, especially young females.
Sure, sure. Yeah, and I mean, we definitely do see that. It's just that as much as so-called trans men get on my nerves, um, I really do think that the true predators in the situation are usually the so-called trans women.
Yeah.
When we're talking about the groomers,
Yeah.
generally speaking, that's what I'm thinking of is the trans women,
Oh, absolutely,
right or
absolutely.
wrong, but that's how I see it.
Although I don't know, I feel like some of these so-called trans men are definitely going into predator territory because they're
Oh, they
targeting
are.
they're targeting actual homosexual men, demanding that those of us who are homosexual men be intimate with them because they are gay men, since they transition to men and want to be with men. So they're demanding that actual homosexual, actual gay men be intimate with them, and that is
Well,
predatory.
and in that regard, Kevin, those women are essentially rapists, is what they
Yeah,
are. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. That's what they are. They are female rapists. And
absolutely.
I've seen plenty of horror stories and stuff like that online about these women trying to hook up with gay men, and then they'll come back and cry about the fact that the man was pissed off because he didn't like the fact that once she pulled down her pants he saw a fucking pussy. So
Well, our friend the based mother recently did a short video on that, where she was reading such stories, which we're gonna have the based mother back on in the future, people. So be prepared for that. I do want us to move on because we got one more video of Lilly here of this man targeting children. Now, again, look at that music. That music down at the bottom of this video as it goes by, and what music he actually uses. And then also just listen to how he speaks, what he says, and the graphics that he uses.
Friends, today we're talking about something super cool called pronouns. Pronouns are little words that help us talk about each other. We all have pronouns. Some people use he and him, like this bear. He's so cuddly. Some people use she and her, like this cat. She's so playful. Some people use they and them, like this frog. They like to hop. Can you say he's so cuddly? Good. Can you say she's so playful? Good. Can you say they like to hop? Good job. And it's important to ask people what their pronouns are because you can't always tell by what they look like. Here's how you do it. Hi, my name is Lilly. My pronouns are she and her. What about you? Then the other person can tell you their name and pronouns. Using the right pronouns makes everyone feel happy and included. It shows that you care about them. Plus, it's an easy way to be a good friend.
All right. Okay. For anyone watching, and I am unapologetic when I say this, if anyone walks up to me and introduces themselves to me and says their pronouns, I'm going to have a quick and I'm just going to walk away. Label me rude all you want, but I'm not engaging with pure insanity, okay? That's not happening, especially if you're quite literally introducing yourself with your pronouns right after you say your name. Insane. And as you can see,
when have people ever done this normally? You know what I mean? This is like a totally new invention, Kevin. No one has ever done this normally.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, think about like the 1980s or 90s or even the early 2000s. Who the hell actually introduced themselves and gave their pronouns? No one did. And this is so completely stupid. All it is it's about coddling these people again because they love to be coddled, you know. And here we are on today, National Day of Trans Visibility, because that's what today is. Even though I think that tomorrow is a better day for them because it's April Fool's Day.
Which Chris, near where I live, there's a library that's hosting a Trans Day of Visibility event tomorrow in the library, where they're going to have a drag show, a drag story hour for children, and it's quite appropriately on April Fool's Day because it's just going to be full of damn fools.
That might be the one and only time that I would actually support such a thing. So, they did pick the right day to do it. That's for sure. April Fool's Day.
Stacy thought it was April 1st. I actually do think it is today because I saw a bunch of trans activists posting saying, Trans Day of Visibility and stuff, like trans activists such as Lilly. So I just think that the library near me happens to be having it on April 1st, their event. I do want to mention though, and I want to go to the comments first because we have a comment from, I don't know if this person commented before. Third, this person is targeting a very specific audience. This person couldn't have targeted better, is a scope and a range finder. Okay. Yeah. Not sure what the clarity was with that, but this individual is just, let's face it, overall predator. First preying on restaurants, wait staff management, and now has jumped to targeting children. And as you can see, we have in this video, we had a bear, we have a cat, and we have a frog. Now,
a cute little frog, yeah.
If I recall earlier, I remember Stacy commenting with, "I'll choose the bear."
Don't we all?
Oh, Thurg said, sorry, meant to say with a scope like a sniper. Yeah, pretty much. That's actually
yes.
Quite
okay,
on
now
point.
That makes
quite on
sense.
point, Thurg. Thank you for clarifying. Yes, absolutely, like a sniper who plans to take their target out, destroy their life. Um,
Right.
and the frog part was interesting. That this man chose the frog for they them, right? And chose the bear, for they them chose the frog. And the reason why is because, have you ever had someone say this to you? Because I had someone close in my life get told this when they were talking about how humans are male or female. They had someone respond, and I got this once before. Well, there are frogs in the rainforest who can change their sex or can change their gender. And I remember saying, "We're not frogs, darling. We're
Right.
not frogs." And then I guess once again with this, as you saw with the music, we have kids and toys. This is just creepy upon creepiness, and it's very clear what Lilly is doing here.
Well, I mean, not only is it like predatory against children, but in the sense that it's got that creepy vibe to it. But I think the other thing is it shouldn't be surprising to us because this is what the trans community is after. They are definitely after your children. And the reason is because they know that in order to propagate their ideas, their ideology, they need to go after the kids.
Hmm.
I mean, these are the people that love to call people like you and me Hitler. But no, let's take a look at what Hitler did. I mean, he made sure to go after the kids. And that's exactly what these weirdos are doing.
Hmm. Well, I
And
mean, sorry, go
S-
on, Chris.
Oh no, yeah, and so I mean that's the thing. So I mean I don't think that people like you and me are the Hitlers here. They are basically reenacting his playbook all over again, and then calling us the fascists.
Oh, I just noticed, everyone. I am so sorry that I actually have the bar that's going down there is from our last stream.
Oh,
I know I'm
I
just
just
crazy with
noticed
that.
that
Sorry, I'm
too.
gonna update that, Chris. So I'm gonna let you continue while I update that because I do feel so foolish. I was a bit in a rush this evening, but please continue with your thought, Chris.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it wasn't really that big of a deal, guys. I mean the main thing is that this stuff targeting kids, I mean, we shouldn't be surprised by this, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to perpetuate a particular ideology that they've bought into, and so therefore kids are the ones that they're going to go after, of course, because who's going to carry this stuff on? Well, kids will. And so that's why they're going after them. And then there is also the slight pervert, aspect to it as well, where you kind of wonder what they might be really up to. I'm not insinuating whatsoever that that's what Lilly or Jeffrey Marsh is up to, because I don't know them personally, and so I have no idea. But and I'm not going to get into a lawsuit with these idiots because I've already been sued once.
Yeah.
Um, all I'm saying is that, if you are going to be communicating with kids like this, because that's clearly what you're doing, you are making yourself look like a creep.
Hmm.
And, again, like I said, I don't know their intentions, and I'm not going to speculate on what their intentions are, but you're making yourself look like a total perv.
Absolutely. And I mean, not just look, act, everything. It's the saying, if it walks like a duck, sounds like a duck. And here's another thing is that this really is about the children, and here's why. There's that poem where you have the line, the hand that rocks the cradle is the hand that rules the world. And that's really an ode to motherhood, but it's true in the fact that those who shape the young minds control the future. That's just a fact. It's been that way in every culture, and it will always be that way. And these predators, they know that. Without question, they know that. But speaking of trying to look a certain way, um, quite recently, Lilly here, this young gentleman, tried to go under the knife to look a bit more feminine. And I,
That
all
was
right, so
cute.
full disclosure before I play this. I did add the music to this. This is music that I chose because I thought it was far more appropriate and entertaining. And to those watching, and I want you to comment. I don't care if you're watching this right now and you've never commented before, please comment with this one. I am going to play this video of the before and after of Lilly getting facial surgery, reconstructive surgery, whatever. And I want you to tell me if this gender affirming care actually took. Does Lilly look more like a woman at the end of this clip? All right, let's just jump right into this because it's quite amusing. Right. Okay.
So okay, so what he's showing us there, his hair transplants or
how he
something?
got the little plugs in. Yeah. By the way, so first of all, the only thing that looks different is like it looks like he got a skin peel, like a facial peel, because his skin looks a bit smoother, a bit clearer. So I'll give him that. I will give him that. But the most feminine this surgery during this process, the most feminine Lilly looked was when his face was swollen and his face was wrapped, right? Because he had a fuller face, which we generally associate with femininity. But in my eyes, as he healed, the male bone structure, I mean, just like it was there.
All I can say, Kevin, because this video, I've seen it before we even talked about this. This video made me bust out laughing because I was just like, you went through all of that to basically still look like a damn man. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, I'm sorry, there's only so much surgery can do. And evidently it didn't really do much. I mean, to be quite honest, I don't think he even looks any different. And he's still got that voice.
Oh
And
no!
so it's
All right, so
like
Chris, in the comments, Stacy made a comment, which okay, because I made a comment about the skin looking a bit clearer. Stacy, and this of course is something a woman would notice, right? Um, Stacy said so many thoughts, and oh my god, he looks he looks like he's got either horribly caked makeup or a mask on, because the line on his chin slash neck is hilarious and totally male. All right, I didn't pay attention. I did see the Adam's apple, but yeah, I didn't pay attention to the line. And third commented, this person quote unquote now has an uncanny valley feel.
oh yes,
But
yes, I totally get that uncanny valley. Have you ever heard
no,
that
I
term
have
before?
not. I feel like it's a Californian thing. No.
It is something that I know, so maybe it is a slightly Western United States sort of thing. But yes, uncanny valley is a thing, and
Right.
I totally get that. So uncanny valley is basically it's like they look kind of like what they're trying to go for, but not exactly.
All right.
That sort of thing, and it just doesn't. Something looks off. Now in my opinion, I get the uncanny valley comment, but I will say that I'm not sure that this person has actually even achieved uncanny valley.
Mm.
I mean, uncanny valley, like if he was maybe an android or something,
Well, Chris, let me know if there's, because my husband is a fan of like the creepy podcast, right? The stories and all that stuff. And to me, when I think about how you explained the valley, the valley feel, I thought of how it's an attempt to look, but not quite right. It made me think of like skinwalkers or not deer. I don't know if you've ever heard of not deer. It's like Chris, it's a little bit close to your region, but it's a story about a creature that presents as a deer, but if you get closer, it will have like fangs and glowing eyes, and it'll try to kill you. Um,
Well, uncanny valley, probably the best way to put it. And I know this is a little bit of a detour, but I'll just go ahead and say it. That's why I brought up the thing about being an android.
Data,
So
yeah, I kind of get that.
yeah, so it's like looks kind of human, but not really. You know?
So yeah, people, this is our last clip with Lilly here, and obviously focusing on his attempt to look more feminine. So as we've seen in these past 4 clips, we focused on the evolution of Lilly. Lilly went from harassing restaurant staff and management, is now starting focus more on targeting children, and tried some surgery that really did nothing. But so that's where we are right now with Lilly, and trust me, we definitely want to keep an eye on this individual, because something tells me that content targeting children is going to keep on coming from Lilly here. So with that in mind, we are going to go to a very well-known individual who came out, just bursted out of the trans closet, targeting, mocking women, right? And not only that, well, I'll get into my thought about that after we play the first clip. So this individual is, of course, Dylan Mulvaney. And obviously, if you haven't heard of Dylan Mulvaney, you're probably living under a rock at this point, which honestly, with what's going on in the world, I understand why you'd want to. But so here we go with one of the first videos that Dylan Mulvaney became well known for, and that is his first day as a girl. All right. And I'm sorry if the audio is a bit off. I had an issue with the music. So I hope, let me know in the audience if you hear what he's saying clearly. All right. So here we go with Dylan Mulvaney's first video about day one of being a girl.
Day one of being a girl, and I have already cried 3 times. I wrote a scathing email that I did not send. I ordered dresses online that I couldn't afford. And then when someone asked me how I was, I said, I'm fine, when I wasn't fine. So, thought I do, ladies. Good? Girl.
All right. Dylan, my man. Effeminate man, but still my man. How did you do? You did awful. You are you just became a living caricature of what it is to be a female. And what's even more disturbing is that you initially focused on you were a girl, your girlhood. And you'll see this with Dylan Mulvaney early on, is he's always talking about his girlhood experience. So this is a man, a grown man, not only saying that he is female, but not even saying he's a trans woman. He was saying he was a trans girl, right? And girlhood. That is disturbing on multiple levels, in my opinion. Chris, I'm going to throw it to you.
Just in case my mom is watching, because she does watch our podcast, I'm just saying, Mom, doesn't he look like you know who? Yeah, that one. Anyway, so that's just an inside joke. But yeah, Dylan's kind of interesting. He is a caricature. I like to. I know that we're going to do some other clips, but maybe I'll just go ahead and kind of give away the goods here right up front, which is that Dylan Mulvaney, as far as I'm concerned, is a drag queen that just never takes off his makeup. I think that's what he is. I mean, he is not there is nothing authentically female or woman like or girl like or whatever the hell he wants to say about him. I mean everything that he talked about, like, um said I was fine even though I wasn't, and I sent I wrote up a nasty email that I didn't send to somebody. I mean, all he's doing is just sitting there talking about stereotypes,
Hmm.
which is what these
It's
so-called
woman
trans
face,
women
right? We call it woman face. I mean, might as well.
Right. And that's what most of these trans women do is they are caricatures, they are stereotypes of females. There's like nothing genuine or authentic about them. And the trans men are really the same way too.
Hmm.
I like to use the pissed off lawyer as an example. I mean, you'll notice that every picture she takes, she's got a frowny face because she thinks that evidently
She,
that makes her look more
yeah, yeah.
masculine, and it's like, God, bitch, smile, men smile too.
Exactly. Thurg made a comment that kind of. You remember not too long ago. I'm horrible with names, so I forget the guy's name. There was that one guy who he came out as trans and did it for 6 months, then said it was all joke, right?
Oh, right. I remember
Yeah.
that.
Thurg made a comment in regards to Dylan Mulvaney. This started as a parody or a joke and got out of hand. I really want to believe that because I guess there's still a part of me that really wants to believe that someone can't really be this insane and this much of a predator, this much of wanting to mock and go after women and girlhood, girlhood. I want to believe that, but I've also seen people genuinely, they are authentic in this level of crazy.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like this day and age, right? We can easily see news reports that are fake and believe them even because they're so outlandish. And it's because reality is that right now. And Dylan Mulvaney is unfortunately that reality. Well, detached
Sure.
from reality, but the reality that is insanity.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Yep. So what's Dylan's next clip? Can't
So,
wait to see.
all right, I'm offended by this next clip for all the women in my life, first of all the females, but also because I actually authentically, truly love going out in nature. I love hiking. I love camping. And I feel like Dylan didn't just go after women and girls in this clip. Dylan went after one of my all-time favorite things to do during the summer, which is hike and camp. So with that, let's get into this.
Day 66, being a girl, and today I'm in nature. Trees, I love them. Water, lakes, I love them. Heels, they're my hiking heels. I love them. Okay, come on. Bridges, love them. Coconut water, love it. Not mad, just love it. Wind turbine, love it. Meadows, love them. I'm scared of getting Lyme disease. Love ya. Oh. Did you see that? I gotta get out of here. Did you see that? It's a dragonfly. Oh my god. Never again. Get me out of here. Love ya.
All right, Dylan, my man, my effeminate brother. Okay, first of all, there's no need to be afraid of getting Lyme disease because I'm sure there is no tick on this planet that would take the risk of biting you. First of all All right, so let's go there. And Dylan, I'm glad that you love bridges because I mean you look a little bit like an anorexic troll, so maybe you might want to camp out under one. I know I'm being particularly vicious this evening, folks, but I'm sorry. I am truly disgusted by this, and it's not even that I'm angry. So that's the thing. It's not even anger. It is true disgust.
Right.
It is true disgust in the same fashion that you have people in cities urinating and shitting on the street, right? That's not even
Right.
about anger. I'm disgusted by it. I am disgusted by this attack on womanhood and girlhood, especially disturbed by the fact that he's targeting girlhood here in this video at this time in his transition. So I'm just going to throw it to you, Chris, because
Well,
I'm
I
fairly
guess
disturbed.
you and I are both going to be particularly vicious tonight because honestly, when he fell down, I'm like, isn't it sad that he didn't break his neck? But anyway, I yeah, I mean that's the whole thing about Dylan Mulvaney that like kind of drives me nuts is because it is almost like a mockery of women.
Hmm.
Not almost like it is a mockery of women. That's exactly what it is. And I can't stand it. But then again, it's emblematic of pretty much every single trans woman that you know. I mean, none of them are authentic in their so-called womanhood or girlhood or whatever the
Hmm.
hell they want to call it. There's no authenticity to it. And you know why there's no authenticity to it? It's because they aren't women. They are men pretending to
Hmm.
be women. And I don't care how good they may be. I know that one of my friends who are out there watching right now will know exactly what I'm talking about. At one point in time, I used to think, okay, there might be okay trans people out there. No, 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 no. That's not true. The whole thing is problematic all the way across the board. And while Dylan Mulvaney I do tend to think that there is a little bit of performance art going on here, and not being authentically trans in that sense. Um, and you're right, maybe this is some sort of joke that just got way out of hand because he also had the facial feminization surgery like Lilly did as well. And that's a lot to go through for a joke, but it's really hard to take someone like this seriously. And I don't know, did you see, Kevin, the more recent thing, the new podcast or show or TV show or whatever the heck that Dylan's got coming up?
No,
And
I
oh
haven't.
yeah, I mean I can't remember exactly what it's called, but you see him holding like a martini glass and he's sloshing it around and acting stupid. It looked just like something a drag queen would do. That's
Mhm.
exactly what it looked like. There
I
was
mean,
nothing authentically female about anything that he was doing.
oh yeah, and he's always been this way. Remember that Price is Right clip?
Oh yeah.
Where he's runs.
Oh yeah.
This has always been Dylan, and what's deeply unfortunate is Dylan, a feminine man, right? Had actually a decent voice, all that stuff, but it's just like it's just you can see the progression into the further insanity and the predatorial mindset. And I know you and I, Chris, we kind of are on a similar path. We're getting to a similar place, but a different route, right? When it comes to transgenderism in general, just even beyond the targeting of children, right? Because the targeting of children is the absolute no. That's not. We're going to put a stop to that. But when it comes to trans adults, right? I'd always had the mindset of once you're an adult, right, you can do whatever you want, all that stuff. But I will admit, as I've mentioned before, Chris, you and I have discussed it, and I think I've mentioned it in a past stream, is one of the things I strive for is consistency and application of thought, right? If I have a perspective, I try to apply it across the board. And if I can't, I ask myself why. What is inconsistent about my logic? And how can I make it more consistent? So I earlier mentioned, a body dysphoria in the sense that someone might feel that they shouldn't have their arm, or someone might feel that they should be blind. Someone feels they shouldn't have their leg, so they want to cut it off, right? I am against that ever being legal, even for an adult to be able to do that. So if I'm against someone with a dysphoric mind being able to mutilate their body in that fashion, to be consistent, I should also be against someone mutilating their body in another fashion because they're, well, at least they claim to be dysphoric. So this is where I'm coming from it, is that I'm seeking that consistency when it comes to the application of my thought process.
Sure. And, the thing is, Kevin, and for everybody out there, I mean, that's the reason why these trans adults are so interested in the stuff dealing with so-called gender affirming care for kids. The reason they're so interested in it, because, okay, guys, here's the thing. For any of you who don't know, I mean, I have gone before state legislatures and stuff like that, and I have talked about this particular issue. City councils, county councils, all that type of stuff, school boards, all that. And I'm going to say that the funny thing is when you listen to the trans adults talk, because they say that they care about so-called trans kids, that sort of thing. But when you listen to them talk, you can tell that what they really care about is just themselves. And I think the thing is it kind of goes to what you're talking about, Kevin, is like really when it gets down to it, this is probably not okay for adults. And I think that's why the trans adults are so concerned that we are focusing on this stuff with kids. And we're going to, and I really do think ultimately this country is going to come down on the side of no, this should not be done to kids whatsoever. And I think what they're afraid of is that once we realize it's not okay for kids, we're going to turn our attention to them and we're going to kind of go,
Mm-hmm.
this is probably not okay for adults either.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not okay for adults.
Because you do have to get that logic, right? Because then they use that argument against you, right? That's how they twist it, is they say, well, if you let them, because you say how, for example, I think that's why they went into sports, specifically women's sports, right? Because we say that these men might be on hormones now, right? They might have gotten surgeries, but their muscles developed as a man. Their heart, all this stuff developed as a man before they got on hormones. And hormones don't get rid of all that. It doesn't change the body. They don't change the body like that. So then their response to that is, well, if we then go after them when they're children, that won't happen. So that, I feel, was one of their ways. I honestly feel like the targeting of women's sports, grown women's sports, was intentional, because you then follow that argument up with, well, if we allow them to transition as children before puberty, or at least start, then they won't have those advantages. And that is disturbing, it is manipulative, and it is without question evil in my book. And I want to go to the comments quick, because Stacy, you said the crazy part is that most male to female learn to be a woman from other men. That is true, and more specifically drag queens. So I do want to move us along a little bit, Chris, because we do got one more Dylan Mulvaney video, and in my opinion it is one of the worst videos from Dylan Mulvaney that I can recall. So do you have anything else to add to this, Chris, before we jump to the next one?
No, I'm good. Let's
right.
go with the next video clip.
So let's go to this other one, right? Because remember, earlier you said that Dylan wants to show us what he's got, and well, in this video, that's very much what he wants to do.
74, being a girl, and I wore this outfit shopping today, and I thought that these might be my new shopping shorts, but I was walking around and everyone was staring, and they were all staring directly at my crotch. And I went, oh, I forgot that my crotch doesn't look like other women's crotches sometimes, because mine doesn't look like a little Barbie pocket. And I thought, okay, Dylan, you have some options here. Number one, you can stop wearing clothes that fit like this. Number two, I can do a tuck, which is going to have to be a whole other video, but it's very painful and involved. Or number three, I I just normalize it. And I wear clothes like this, and we all just normalize women having bulges. Normalize the bulge. We are normalizing the bulge. Women can have bulges, and that's okay. We're not gonna stare at their crotches while they're wearing their little shopping shorts at the mall. Oh, thank you.
All right. First of all, let me just say that there have been times when I've seen, like, well, men who are dressed like men are not pretending to be women wearing certain pants, and I'm like, you should wear something baggier, my man. All right. So even when you see that with men who aren't this, but getting then to this, I mean, what this right here is honestly just the full-on best depiction of how Dylan is just all about mocking womanhood, or in this case, as Dylan likes to say, girlhood. Normalize women having bulges. I mean, and just like the thought that there are actual women out there who are so twisted by the feminist mindset that they actually defend this man. They actually defend this man who wants to normalize women having bulges. I honestly, like I said, once again, not even angry, I'm disturbed. All right. So, Chris, I'm gonna throw it to you. I mean, ugh.
Yeah, God. Man, it's really hard to take this character seriously in any sort of way. I mean, that whole weird little musical thing that he did and all that type of stuff, I mean, that was kind of bizarre. Uh, man, I'm still trying to figure out, guys, whether this is for real or if this is like the best freaking parody that we've ever seen done on Earth. Um, you know, because but if it is real, which I'm just going to go ahead and assume that it is, because he seems to have committed to this. Um, it's like they're again, it's back to what I said earlier. There is nothing female-like about him whatsoever. You know, he very much seems like an over-the-top, effeminate gay man, and that's exactly what he is. And so which, effeminate doesn't necessarily mean feminine. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah, and
So
that is a distinction, an important distinction, that there is a distinction between saying a feminine man and an effeminate man. That has gone back and forth. Yeah, so absolutely.
yeah, so yeah, he's definitely an effeminate man, but there's nothing feminine about him,
Hmm.
whatsoever. And so I mean, God, and the whole thought that, women have bulges. It's like, no, no, they don't.
No.
It's like women do not have the same anatomy as men. And
Hmm.
I'm sorry that it disturbed your little trans mind so much that, we are going to play by actual social norms here, but and what is expected of actual males and actual females. But, I am so damn sick and tired of trying to cater to these people. I mean, well, I don't anymore. I mean, I don't. To hell with them as far as I'm concerned. But the thing is like I'm not going to play in their stupid delusions. I'm not going to play their little games anymore. I'm not going to be nice. I'm not going to use stupid fucking pronouns, all that type of stuff. So anyway, excuse my language,
So,
guys. I'm sorry, but this stuff gets me kind of crazy.
yeah, and this is one of our longer ones because we're at an hour and 15 minutes almost, but I feel like it's definitely worth diving into. Before we go to our next and our final nut, I do want to go to the comments. Stacy, once again, and this is actually a comment that makes me actually feel sorry, feel deeply sad for this individual. Stacy commented with, "A woman told me she only knew she was a woman because of social construct the other day." And the reason that breaks my heart is because that means this woman is actually detached from her womanhood, from what it means, from being a female. She does
Right.
not have a healthy relationship with being a female because the culture is able to confuse her about it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
That's
actually
really sad,
saddens
Kevin.
me.
Yeah, and Stacy, that is really sad that somebody would say that. Gosh, I mean, what has this trans madness done to our society? I mean, God, it's going to take us a long time to dig out of this.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
sick.
Well, I mean, look with all the children who have been targeted, puberty blockers and hormones, and then later in life surgeries. We're looking at a generation, and we're already seeing it, a generation of just scarred youth, a scarred generation. And I mean that both mentally and physically with
Yeah.
what's happening, especially in states like New York, where I live, and obviously California. I really fear for the children here in New York and over in California. With that, though, we are going to move on to the next nutter on our list. Don't worry, I'm sure we will swing back eventually to Dylan Mulvaney because Dylan Mulvaney, well, is Dylan Mulvaney and will no doubt continue to be this. So with that, we are now moving on to a gentleman by the name of Derrick Bower. I believe that is how his last name is pronounced. I was not aware of him until recently. This is a gentleman who, well, let's just get to the clips because he's his own brand of crazy without question. All right, one moment.
About the people that identify as air conditioners. Stop being transphobic. You can't correlate something that is non-human with the human experience. Transgender people are valid, trans women are women, trans men are men, and non-binary people exist. The definition of transgender is and always has been not identifying with the sex one was assigned at birth. Therefore, since I was assigned male at birth and I do not identify with male, I am transgender. I'm also non-binary because I don't identify with female. That would be considered agender, the letter A and the word gender squished together. There are many ways to be transgender. There's no one correct way to be transgender. Non-binary people don't owe you androgyny. Transgender people do not owe you transition. While some transgender people do transition, that is not the definition and never has been. Have the day you deserve.
All right. Let's let a few things here first. I mean, first of all, you can apply non-human things to humans. I mean, we have we have boxers that what is it? They float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. No. But furthermore, seriously though, I actually want to address this individual in a few ways because he talks about how transgender has always meant this, right? Well, okay, I've been an activist for a long time. I was an activist for a long time. I had been. And I had been an activist originally back before this assigned at birth crap was used. It used to be the sex you were born. That is actually the terminology. When someone who was trans back in the day or identified as trans said they were trans, they would say, I don't identify as the sex I was born. Now you get a mixture of either I don't identify as the sex I was assigned at birth, which means that you're conflating sex and gender, even though you say those are two different things. Or they say, I don't identify as the gender I was assigned at birth. So even then, Derrick is lying. It is not, even trans has not always meant that. It once specifically meant that you were an individual who did not identify with the sex you were born, and that is the wording that trans individuals use. Now, to go on to that, and I think the second clip touches on this as well, but I'm just going to go into it now, is that there actually there's terminology has changed in another way. Chris, do you remember the distinction when the terminology was used, transgender and transsexual?
Oh, sure.
Do you remember the distinction between those two? So for those watching, back in the day, both terms were used, transsexual and transgender. Now, transgender was used to describe someone who had gender dysphoria. So, and they presented as the sex that they thought they were, right? So this is where you had a man who would dress like a woman, right? So it was that clothing, it was surface deep, they grew their hair out. That was transgender back in the day. Then you were a transsexual once you moved on to getting the surgeries and more of the treatments and stuff. That then was more the terminology transsexual was more applied at that time. So I mean, for him, basically to sum it up, what I'm saying here is for him to say that when it comes to trans, it's always been this way in this definition, he is outright lying, even about the history that he says he would probably say he's so proud of. Anyways, I'm gonna throw that to you, Chris.
Well, they pretty much make up everything as they go along. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. I mean, this guy reminds me of some, stupid, like, I don't know, weird sort of like emo theater geek or something like that from high school who just never grew up. And anyway, so, he's coming up with his own definitions. I mean, quite honestly, if you ever talk to someone who's into paganism or Wiccan bullshit, they sound almost the exact same way. And anyway, so I mean, he's just making up whatever, goes along with what he thinks. And you're right though, Kevin. The term the definitions of transgenderism and stuff like that have been very fluid over the years and has changed. And I mean, you can go back to the 1980s when I was a kid. No one even knew what the hell it was, and so to say it's always been this way, it's like always to
Yeah.
win, what,
And
5
Chris,
years
during that
ago?
time, sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but during that time, wouldn't you say that probably the most applied term, even though I know it's technically a different terminology, but an individual would probably been more described as a transvestite back in the
Oh
day?
yeah, 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 for sure. This idea that you can somehow change your sex, or in their case, they like to use the term gender because they have unfortunately very successfully separated the meanings of the word gender and sex. But we as sane people need to make sure to bring those back together because gender and sex are the exact same thing.
Hmm.
um so they've very successfully done that. But no one ever believed that you could actually change your sex or anything along those lines. It
Hmm.
was just known as a surgery that some people had, or whatever the case may be, uh, for whatever reason, that made their screwed up little minds feel better, So, but that was it. No one
Yeah.
ever thought that there was any way to change anything. And this idea, I mean, he said assigned at birth. I'm with you, Kevin. It's like, it's so stupid.
Yeah,
Sex
it
is
was an
observed.
observation. And
Sex is observed. It is not assigned. My God.
yeah, I
Stop
mean,
it with this assigned crap.
Stacy has me going in the comments. Stacy, I'm not loving you tonight, especially now, because now you got some songs stuck in my head. Stacy Sunshine said, outside of the transvestite, from Transylvania. And I'm just like, Stacy, that was mean of you, because now that's stuck in my head and it's going to be stuck in my head for a while. Thank you very much.
We're gonna have to watch Rocky Horror Picture Show now. Damn it!
Right. And by the way, before we go on to the next clip, I do want to say, Chris, that you said that we need to bring back together the terms gender and sex. Now, here's the thing: the true hardcore trans activists actually are doing this, and here's how. For example, right? So, I want us to do a stream on this because we have some good examples to go with, Chris. I remember them arguing how sex and gender are different, right? They want so a man who feels that he's a woman wants you to call him she, her, because that's gender, not sex, right? Female is sex, right? But if that's true, if that is true, then why do you want your IDs? Why are you trying to change what's on your identification? Because I don't know about other states, but here in New York, and on my current ID, it doesn't say gender. It says sex. So if gender and sex are truly two different things, then if you are a trans woman, you should be perfectly fine, at least in New York State, having male on your ID, because it's acknowledging your sex, not your gender.
And that's so true, Kevin. That's so true. But
see, they're complaining it themselves, though, because they're trying to strip
they do
sex as well.
Why are they? Well, yeah, I mean, you're right, Kevin, because why are they concerned about what sex you're supposedly assigned at birth? That is stupid. So
and he
for those
said
of you
sex
out
at
there
birth. He didn't even
who
say
do not,
gender.
for those of you out there who do not know, I am running for the Missouri House of Representatives, and I'll tell you what, we do already have some legislation that's going to make it harder for them to change their driver's licenses. But when I get elected, I'm going to try to make it very difficult, extremely difficult, to change your sex on your birth certificate. And I think that we'll take care of a lot of problems right there.
Yep. It's funny because, Stacy, you said if you get to pick, why does your biology matter? And it is kind of true, because what's it going around now? If genitals don't define gender, then how exactly does gender confirmation? Like, I mean, why do you need that? Why do you need to do anything with your genitals if they don't define gender, right?
Well,
But
Kevin, what you're doing is you're trying to apply logic to a mental illness.
so with that, and we're going to come back to this individual in the future. And like I said, later in the future, Chris, we got to do a stream on that conflation, the reconflation in a predatorial fashion, in an evil fashion of sex and gender, right? They separated the terms. Now they're trying to put them back together and just strip them all together. With that, though, we're going to move on to the next clip of Derrick, because in this one, I know this, Chris, you're definitely going to have a response to this one, because Derrick compares what's happening to transgender people in America to a very specific moment in history. I know you can guess which moment. So let's just jump on that crazy horse and see what Derrick here has to say.
I have a question for you. If you're willing to let the world treat you like America is treating transgender people right now, please sound off in the comments. You're not going to say anything because you know that you don't want what is happening to transgender people right now to happen to you. There is an active genocide happening against transgender people, and there are 10 stages. We are on stage 8 of 10. What are you going to do to stop it? How are you going to speak up to help those in need? If you would look back in 1930s Germany and think, what would I do to stop it? Your actions right now are what you would have done then.
All right. My man, Derrick. All right, my man. I do believe that you are on stage 8 of 10 of losing your damn mind. That I believe full-heartedly. You're on that level of being unhinged. You might even be beyond it at this point. So let me first say that. But to this and the left does this consistently, but especially we see this in the trans community, right? And especially among the activists, is they conflate these things. They reach back to one of the most horrific moments in world history and try to claim that. And that's what angers me the most. Even if you descend from people who went through something, and this does anger me, I'm not going to lie, it does, is when you try to claim the pain and suffering of another, right? You try to say that this is what you're going through. And my man, Derrick, if I live in New York, right? So honestly, if I came out and said I identify as trans tomorrow, I could probably get a job in just about any place I want, especially in the current government in New York State. What's being done? But back to the sickness, the mental sickness, the disease of the mind that leads someone to reach back in time to true pain and suffering and persecution, whether it's what happened in Nazi Germany, whether it's actual slavery throughout history, and try to claim that pain and apply it to something in going on in their life here in the Western world in 2025, that is sick. And it's evil in my book as well. Chris, I'm gonna throw it to you.
Okay, so yeah, like you said, I definitely have some thoughts on this. So, guys, for those of you out there listening, I am a Jewish man, and this is the most offensive bullshit that I've ever heard. Well, not ever heard, but it's pretty damn near close to the top. First of all, he's using the word genocide wrong. Genocide refers to some sort of like, you're trying to weed out a particular genetic type of person. In the case of the Jews, it was a particular race. See, that's the thing, guys. I'm ethnically a Jew. I like that is in my blood. It's not just my religion, it is my ethnicity. The transgenderism has nothing to do with genetics. It has nothing to do with race or anything along those lines. This is just a choice these people make. This is a professional freaking victim here, is what this is. And a lot of these weirdos are pretty much that. And I think it's kind of funny that they like to, say that their so-called persecution, because I don't even see how they're getting persecuted, but they like to say that their so-called persecution is akin to what the Jews went through in Nazi Germany. Bullshit. You know, there is no persecution. These people aren't being killed or anything like that. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen this, Kevin, but I looked up some statistics because there's supposedly so many trans people that get killed because they're supposedly trans. It is actually safer in this country to be a trans person than it is to be a heterosexual man. Not joking. The death rate for heterosexual men, or I mean, the murder rate for heterosexual men is actually higher than it is for any trans woman.
Mhm.
So, I mean, the whole line of argument is complete and utter lies. It is nothing but lies. So, they are not being persecuted. They are not suffering like the Jews did under Nazi Germany. Don't give me that shit. And okay, ugh, I'll calm down because
Yeah.
that
No,
gets me going.
I get it, because this is, like I said, they're not, in your case, Chris, they're not just reaching back in time to claim someone else's pain. They're reaching back in time to claim the pain of your ancestors. So, people who were, that you descend from, those family lines. So I definitely understand why you would especially be angered by this, because it really is just absolutely insane because Kadima says in the comments they have exactly the same rights as everyone else does. We all have to use the facilities for our sex. But I mean, aside from the facilities, they do have all the same rights. And the irony is, now there's a bit of that irony, right? Because you have in the Western world, right, individuals, the trans activists claiming genocide and persecution, right? And then they go on and they talk about Queers for Palestine. I want you to take your trans pride flag or even the progress flag and go to Palestine right now and march down that damn street, right? And this is the insanity and the irony with the whole left, but the alphabet soup is what we're focused on right now. But I feel like this goes beyond the alphabet soup and it encompasses the whole left in general, because the left just screeches and rages against the Western world. But the crazy that they're allowed to express so freely and openly is only permitted in the Western world. Isn't that the irony? They rage against the West. They rage against the colonizers, but it's only in the West. It's only where those colonizers were that they have the freedom to express the views that they do. And isn't that the irony? And all the places they put on a pedestal are places where they themselves would likely be killed for expressing those exact same views. But
100%, Kevin. 100%. I really don't have anything to add to that, honestly. I mean, because that is 100% true. I mean, the Queers for Palestine, that's such a bizarre thing. It's like, yeah, okay, go over to Palestine and let yourself be thrown off a building because that's probably what they're going to do to you, buddy. You
yeah,
know, um, so, go right ahead. I mean, every single one of these Queers for Palestine. I know that getting onto Palestine is a little bit of a off ramp here, but I will just say, as far as that is concerned, I would love to see every single leftist sent to Palestine. It would be great because they wouldn't know what to do.
it really is absolute. It's just the cognitive dissonance there is impressive. It is a mental illness at this point in and of itself. And I guess because we've been going over an hour and a half. This has been our longest stream. For those of you who are stuck in there with us, thank you so much. We love you. We appreciate you so much, especially those who have been commenting. We appreciate the feedback. And like we've said before, this is what we want. We want to have a conversation with you. We're not looking to just get on here and talk at you. We want to talk with you. That is really, I
Absolutely.
know that sounded corny, but I do mean it from my heart. Because this is what we're all about, having a conversation. With that, I do want us to wrap up because we could go on and on with this. I do want to say, though, please, if you're watching right now, like, share, subscribe, and also later comment, send a message about a topic you'd like to see us focus on. And if you're interested in possibly being a guest someday, let us know that as well, because we are being honest when we say that we want to have a conversation with you. So Chris, what's your wrap up of all this crazy that we've responded to tonight?
Well, I think that what we're seeing here is how disingenuous the whole transgender stuff is. It's really not genuine, and it's basically either people who are narcissistic or mentally ill, and maybe those are one of two, a two in one. That sort of thing. But I think that we need to take these people seriously in the sense that they are affecting policies in this
Hmm.
country. And so we need to be careful with that. We don't want to just completely dismiss them as lunatics. Yes, they are lunatics for sure. But we don't want to just completely dismiss them because they're unfortunately somewhat sane, I guess, people out there that actually pay attention to them and take them seriously. So, we need to keep that in mind. And most of all, what we really need to do is focus on protecting kids because these people
Mhm.
are going after your kids. And I'm not necessarily saying in a sexual way, but they are definitely going after the heart and soul of your kids. So you need to keep up your guard against this. So
Mhm.
I would just say, if you're a parent, and you've got a kid who's, getting into their teenage years and they're maybe wanting to get on social media and stuff like that, don't let them do it. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No social media whatsoever.
Mhm.
So, anyway, that is kind of what I want to say there because I
And
do care about the kids first and foremost. These people can go to hell, but I do care about kids.
And I agree, Chris. Right up front, it is about protecting the kids first and foremost. You and I, we have a background with Gays Against Groomers, having been members of the organization in the past, and even before that. For me personally, I focus on, well, first of all, I'm about pro-life, and that's me personally. And I am about protecting children in outside the womb, but I'm about a healthy life. And you mentioned attacking the soul and the heart. And why I believe we are certainly, it's a cultural war, I believe we are also in a spiritual war. I believe we have a nation of spiritually ill individuals because at the end of the day, if you don't find something greater than yourself to have faith in, I'm not even telling anyone what religion to be, all right? I'm just speaking as a man who believes in God. I'm speaking as a man who believes in something greater than myself. um it keeps you, ironically enough, it keeps you grounded when you believe in something higher than yourself, right? Because if you don't have that kind of power higher than yourself, you'll likely end up worshiping yourself or worshiping man, and that is what we see here. All this is about the worshiping of the self, and even through mutilation it is still the worshiping of the self. They are trying to turn themselves into idols, right? They are trying to make themselves, they are worshiping an idea of themselves, how they want to see themselves. That's what they are worshiping. And I guess even one more thing to add to that is I once heard leftism, now I've heard liberalism described as this, but definitely leftism at the end of the day, I think comes down to three words, and that's F you dad. And that's just like in general, you realize that a lot of times, even, they either have issues with their fathers in their lives, or they just have issues, a strong disdain for their families in general. And that's also another source, is it's a spiritual war, but it's also a war on the foundation of any great nation, and that is the family unit. So
Yes.
that's where I am personally going to leave it. Once again, y'all, thank you for joining us this evening. Again, please like, share, subscribe, because we need to be having this conversation more and more. And if you want to come on and have that conversation with us, instead of just being in the comments, please let us know, because we'd love to have you. With that, I'm going to wish you a good night. God bless. And we will see y'all next Monday. All right.
Take
Chris and
care,
I are going to
guys.
stay and discuss a little bit what that stream is going to be about, because we have some
All right.
exciting
Take care,
topics.
everybody. Thank you so much for
Absolutely. Have a
joining
good
us.
night.